Hi, I'm Scott Myers. I'd like to introduce you to the PVWJ A-frame pump and talk about its theory of operation. A hydraulic pump consists of two main parts, the rotating group and body, and the control that sits atop. The main body of the pump consists of a piston rotating group with a drive shaft that creates flow based upon the angle of the swash block. This angle is controlled by the control sitting atop and the control piston, which sits here. The pump, as it sits in static condition, has the control piston engaging a pin that holds the swash block of the pump at a specific angle to produce maximum stroke and flow from the pump. As there's also a control section here which has a very small spool with a spring that sets the pressure. As the pump starts flowing, as you start to spin it, and the system is open, in other words that the flow can come out of the pump in an unrestricted manner, the pump will simply pump to its full capacity. In the case of this pump, this one pumps approximately 4 GPM. And when you're again into the system, it will have literally almost no pressure. As you begin to block the system, pressure will begin to build. And you have the adjustments in the pump, a spring here with a set screw that as you screw this in, more and more tension will be built against the control spool. As the pressure comes up in the system, there's a cross drilling through the pump into the control that comes into this area of the spool and into the end of this little spool. As the pressure builds, you'll get to a point where it overcomes the setting of this spring. When that point is reached, this shifts and oil can then pass through the spool into this chamber on the end of the control piston. This allows pressure to build inside the control piston, and when enough pressure is built, it pushes this in this direction, which changes the angle of the swash block, allowing the pump to go from its full stroke angle back towards a position that's near zero, where the angle of the swash block is at 90 degrees to the axis of the drive shaft. There'll be a point where the system pressure will begin to drop or to head towards a point where an equilibrium happens, where the pressure in the system and the tension on the spring meet a point where the leakage to a small orifice inside this control piston allows an angle to be established so that the flow going to the system is the right amount to maintain the compensated pressure setting of this spring. When a function happens on the system, somebody opens a valve or some other function where the flow demand goes up and the pressure drops, the spring then overcomes the pressure here. Because the pressure drops, the flow is cut off from this control piston. The piston then shifts back towards this end because the large spring presses it back on stroke for full flow. This then continues during the day as the machine operation functions and always operates at the pressure of this setting. And that is the basic operation of a PVWJ A-frame pressure compensated axial piston pump.